Hey guys, what's up? Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but, as of, well, not today, but a few days ago, my channel has been doing reviews for an entire year, and I have gained a lot of subscribers and a lot of viewers because of that, and I'd like to thank all of you guys who subscribed, liked, or even just glanced at my videos for a few seconds, even you guys who will only watch like the first few seconds of my videos and then exited. I still would like to thank you. Um, I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm trying to be, honest here. I didn't think my channel would be this popular after it only being open for 3 years. Um, so tonight I was. So tonight, if you guys don't know, this is the movie I'm about to review is my 200th horror film I've reviewed on my channel. Now, as you guys know, I like to do something special for my ones that round out at least 50 or 100, and I usually do those for my, like, main reviews, just reviews in general. I usually don't do them for, like, any certain genre, but since horror is the biggest genre I cover, I have decided I'd cover a movie that I've been interested in checking out for quite a while. Um, Tonight's film is a drama horror film from 1990 from the director Jörg Buttgereit, director of the Necromantic series, which I absolutely love, and Shram with Into the Mind of a Serial Killer, which was pretty good. And tonight's movie is Der Todesking, or The Death King. This film is some kind of anthology film, I guess. Um, Made up of 7 different segments, each taking place on a different day of the week. And the theme of all the segments is suicide or violent death. Um, yeah. So our film opens with credits and a naked man balled up on the floor. We get our title screen, some more credits. Then we get a girl with a piece of paper and a pen drawing a skeleton with a crown on it. Then the naked man again, before we get to the first segment, Monday. Now, as I do with a lot of anthology films, um, I I'm going to I'm going to do this based on what I give the ratings of each segment. So yeah, the first segment starts with a man walking around town, looking at a graveyard and stuff like that, with some very creepy music in the background. The music ends and it shows him writing like just many copies of the same letter and putting them in envelopes. He's talking on the phone to who I assume is his landlord. And next we have a look at his very cramped and creepy apartment, with one just kind of long panoramic shot just going all the way around the room, showing him sleeping, burning paper, eating and gutting fish, vacuuming in his apartment, and other stuff. He looks in the fridge, and the fridge is completely empty other than a can of sardines. Um, and he eats them, and the segment kind of goes on. That segment I at least give a 3 out of 5. The second segment, Tuesday. A guy goes into a video store looking for a movie, and there's a necromantic poster on the front desk. If you guys haven't noticed, in the background on my bedroom wall, there is a necromantic poster. Right there. Yeah. So there's a necromantic poster on the front desk, as well as copies of necromantic on the shelf. Copies of what looks like Alpha Shoe from VSS, which I also have a poster of, and a copy of John Waters' film Female Trouble, and a copy of Maniac. Um, so our character rents the Alsa looking movie and reads the letter that he got from the guy in the first segment. Um, he leaves the video store, goes home, opens a beer, and watches the film. where a female blonde Nazi tortures a guy by cutting off his dick with hedge clippers. That is at least inspired by Alpha Shoe from DSS. Um, the guy's girlfriend comes home and she's kind of, yelling at him. And, yeah, and he shoots her in the head, and then he takes a frame off the wall and takes the picture out of it, takes the back off of it, hangs a nail on the wall, and then puts the frame right over the blood and brain splatter on the wall. That segment was probably my favorite. 5 out of 5. Wednesday begins with a woman walking in the rain, having flashbacks or visions of something. As we see, she received a letter in the mail, and she sees the same corpse that has been shown in every other segment. I've forgotten to mention it so far, but in the two previous segments, the characters had both seen like a corpse laying on the ground before they kind of just snapped. So yeah, she sees the corpse, and then she goes up to a guy that's sitting on a bench in the rain, and he talks about how his wife died, and basically he fucked her to death. I'm not even kidding. Um, well, that's kind of just the gist of what he said. He does talk for like 15 minutes, probably. Yeah, it's a pretty lengthy conversation they have. It's not really a conversation, it's more or less just him talking and her sitting there. But yeah, the segment ends, and I really like that segment as well. That's a 5 out of 5. For the remaining segments, I give Thursday a 1.5 out of 5. Um, Friday a 3.5 out of 5. Saturday a 4 out of 5, and Sunday a 1.5. Out of all the films I've seen from, um, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name, Jorg Butt Garrett, um, this is probably the most well-made one I've ever seen. Uh, it's, I mean, the acting in this film is actually good when compared to Shram and Necromantic 2. The acting in this film is like it's like when you compare the acting in those films to the acting in this film, it's like comparing the acting in Pink Flamingos to the acting in I don't know, a really well acted film. Um, but yeah, the acting in this film is very good, at least by his standards. The writing and effects are also very good, which the effects should be good considering it's coming from the guy who made Necromantic and Shram. The lighting and camera work in this film are also very, very well done. Fantastic, even. The film has a very kind of creepy and serious tone, which feels kind of weird coming from the guy that gave us the very ridiculous film Necromantic. Um, yeah, coming from the guy that gave us that really like laughably bad film. Um, but I just went with it. This is one of those films that some people like to say it's very artsy and pretentious while it's trying to convey a message that it doesn't really convey well. That doesn't really present well. And this film does convey a message. Um, Now, this is just what I think the message is personally. Um, I think the message is that, subjects like death and suicide, at least in American culture, at least in German culture, I guess, is something that isn't really talked about that openly. It's like you mentioned death and people just want to start crying. Um, and people like to act like, someone committing suicide or someone dying isn't a big deal if you don't know them. And and people like to act like, those things don't affect us, but in reality, even if you didn't know the person, even if the person was on the other side of the world, if you hear about that happening to them, it does affect you in a way. It affects us all. That's at least what I have gotten out of it. Um, Only problems with this film. The film does get a little boring around the halfway mark, because it does kind of stray away from the Friday segment a bit, and then you're like, is this the Saturday segment already? And then the Saturday segment begins like 10 minutes after that. It does get a little bit boring, and the Thursday and Sunday segments are absolutely horrid. Well, not horrid, but they're pretty bad. On the gore meter from 1 to 10, 1 being something like the corpse grinders, and 10 being something like brain dead, this one's a 5. Nothing too graphic here, just a few suicides, a few murders, and a rotting corpse that progressively rots, that you see progressively like rot and get eaten by bugs throughout the film. A really interesting film, definitely worth watching once if it does sound interesting to you. It's definitely worth checking out at least once. So after adding up all the ratings I gave for each segment, the total star rating is 23 out of 35. When calculated to be out of 5, it's 3.5 out of 5. Now that is based on the segments. I'd like to say that the segments that were good, and even the segments that were okay, those segments still outweigh and outnumber each other by quite a bit. There's only like 2 unwatchable segments out of 7. So that's 5 out of 7 that's worth watching. So based on these segments, I'd give it a 7 out of 10, or 3.5 out of 5. Based on the film itself, it's a 9 out of 10, 4.5 out of 5 for me. It's definitely worth watching. Anyway, guys, I'm BiscuitBoo69, celebrating a year of reviews, and hopefully many, many more, as well as 200 horror film reviews. Peace.
You're listening to a demo for